she moved swiftly, her footsteps muffled against the worn wooden floorboards, every sense alert to the shifting currents of magic that whispered warnings through the aisles. The Dream Guardians, those spectral sentinels commanded by the Curator, were closing in. Their presence, a cold ember glow flickering at the edges of her vision. She ducked beneath a low-hanging shelf, heart pounding, and pressed her back against the faded spines of ancient tomes. The library around her was no longer the quiet sanctuary she had once tentatively embraced. It had transformed into a labyrinthine trap, where every shadow could conceal a threat, and every breath might cost her dearly. There near, a sharp voice hissed beside her. Tamsin materialized from a swirl of mist, her dark curls wild and eyes blazing with fierce urgency. "We can't keep running. We have to fight back, or at least find a way to slow them down." Liora swallowed the knot in her throat. She wanted to believe in the strength Tamsin exuded, that fiery defiance that had always pushed her to daring acts. But each step she took within the dream realms drained her, the years slipping away like grains of sand through trembling fingers. "There has to be a way," Liora whispered, eyes scanning the shifting shelves that seemed to pulse with hidden energy. "We just need to find the right path." Together, they slipped through shadowed corridors where the very air hummed with ancient enchantments. The Dream Guardians prowled nearby, tall, gaunt figures cloaked in swirling darkness, their ember eyes fixed on the fleeing souls. Their footsteps echoed like distant thunder, a relentless drumbeat of impending doom. Suddenly, a soft glow appeared ahead, pale and shimmering like moonlight on still water. Eleanor emerged, her translucent form flowing with ethereal grace. "This way," she said, her voice a gentle murmur that seemed to soothe the fraying edges of Liora's nerves. A passage hidden from the Curator's gaze. "But be warned, it is fragile, and the magic here is old and unpredictable." Liora nodded, gratitude warming her chest. Eleanor reached out, her fingers brushing a shelf that rippled like a disturbed pond, revealing a narrow archway lined with glowing runes. The air smelled faintly of lavender and forgotten memories. As they slipped through, the sounds of pursuit dimmed, replaced by an eerie stillness that pressed on their skin like a cool, damp cloak. The passage twisted and spiraled, the walls alive with flickering light and whispering voices that seemed both inviting and warning. "We're safe for now," Tamsin breathed, though her restless eyes never stopped scanning the shadows. "But the Curator won't give up. Not while we threaten his collection." Liora's gaze fell to the floor, where Milo padded silently beside them, his sleek fur blending into the dimness. The stray cat's eyes glowed suddenly, reflecting a secret knowledge that went beyond ordinary feline wisdom. The cat paused, ears twitching, then turned sharply down a narrow side corridor. Without hesitation, Liora followed, heart pounding as the library's magic seemed to thrum with renewed energy. The shadows around them writhed and whispered, as if alive and watching. "Milo knows the way," Eleanor said softly. "Trust him." The path led them to a vast chamber where rows of ancient tomes towered like silent sentinels. Here the air shimmered with latent power, a place where the very fabric of the library's enchantment felt thin and vulnerable, but the peace was shattered as a low rumbling growl echoed through the stacks. The Dream Guardians had found them, their ember eyes blazing with a fury that promised no mercy. Liora's pulse quickened. She clenched her fists, drawing on every ounce of courage and cunning she possessed. "We won't be caught," she vowed. "Not yet. Not while there's still breath in our bodies and magic in the air." The chase resumed, a desperate dance of shadows and light, of fleeting hope and encroaching despair. Each narrow escape left Liora more exhausted, her remaining years slipping away even faster. Yet with every step, every whispered secret Milo revealed, and every cryptic word from Eleanor and the archivist's riddles, she grew more determined. The Curator's guardians were relentless, but so was Liora, in the heart of the sleeping library's darkest corners. Amid the shifting dream realms and ancient magic, she fought not just for her own survival, but for the souls bound within the books, and for the fragile hope of breaking the curse that held them all captive. As the chapter closed, Liora's breath came in ragged gasps, shadows coiling around her like a tightening noose. But in her eyes burned a fierce light, a promise that she would not surrender, no matter the cost. The battle was far from over, and the sleeping library still held many secrets yet to be revealed. "This is only the beginning," she whispered to the encroaching dark, stepping forward into the unknown. She sat curled against the stone wall, the dim light from a cracked stained glass window casting fractured colors on the dust motes that danced in the heavy air. The book in her hands throbbed with an unnatural pulse, as if the soul trapped inside it were breathing in tandem with her own faltering heart. Each page she'd turned had stolen a year from her life, the cost undeniable and cruel. She felt it in the hollow ache beneath her ribs, in the slow fading of her strength, and in the shadows gathering behind her eyes. Time was slipping through her fingers like fine sand, and the sanctuary she'd once sought in the sleeping library was becoming a cage tightening around her fragile frame. The weight of it all pressed down relentlessly. Her mind swirled with memories she had tried to bury, the screams in the dark, the slammed doors, the cold loneliness of a home that never felt safe. Here, in the labyrinthine heart of the library, those memories clawed at her, mingling with the whispered voices of the dreaming souls bound in their tomes. Some nights, she thought she could hear them calling, a symphony of silent pleas that echoed in the hollow spaces of her chest. A sudden, sharp knock on the heavy wooden door of the alcove jolted her from the depths of despair. Tamsin's restless figure stepped inside, her dark eyes burning with fierce intensity. "Liora," she said, voice low but urgent, "you can't just sit here and let this library drain you dry. The Curator wants us weak, tethered, broken. We have to fight back." Liora's gaze lifted, meeting Tamsin's unwavering stare. "But every book I open steals more of me," she whispered, voice trembling. "I don't know how much longer I can hold on." Tamsin's expression softened, the edge in her voice giving way to something almost tender. "I know the cost. I've felt it gnawing at my soul for decades, but giving up means losing everything. We have to find a way to break the bindings, if it means risking everything." The room seemed to pulse with the weight of their shared pain and unspoken fears. As if summoned by the tension, a cool breeze stirred the pages of the book in Liora's lap, and Eleanor's shimmering, ethereal form coalesced silently behind her. Her pale blue robes flowed like water, casting a gentle light that softened the harsh shadows. "Patience," child Eleanor's voice whispered like a sigh through the stillness. "The library's magic is woven with sacrifice, but also with hope. You carry the strength of those who came before you. Trust in the bonds you have forged." Liora closed her eyes, drawing in the fragile comfort of Eleanor's presence. The weight in her chest lightened just enough to breathe. "I want to believe," she murmured, "but I'm scared. What if there's no way out? What if I lose myself completely?" Eleanor's gaze was soft but resolute. "Fear is a shadow you must face, not a chain to bind you. The path ahead is perilous, but you are not alone." The air shifted suddenly, thickening with an oppressive presence. The library around them seemed to darken as a vision flickered to life before Liora's eyes, a dreamscape of shifting, ink-drenched corridors, flickering candlelight, and endless shelves that stretched into shadow. From the darkness emerged the Curator, his tall, gaunt figure cloaked in swirling shadows. His eyes burned like embers, cold and unyielding. "You dare challenge me, child?" His voice was a rasp, like dry leaves scraping stone. "This library is my domain, and its magic will consume you if you persist." Liora's breath caught, heart hammering against the cage of her ribs. Yet beneath the fear, a spark of defiance flickered to life. "I am not your prisoner," she said, voice steady despite the trembling in her limbs. "The souls deserve freedom. I will fight to the last breath to break your bindings." The Curator's ember eyes blazed brighter, the shadows swirling chaotically around him. "Then prepare to lose yourself to the darkness you so desperately wish to escape." The vision shattered, leaving Liora gasping in the alcove's cold silence. Milo, the sleek black cat, appeared at her feet, his green eyes glowing with quiet understanding. He brushed against her trembling hand, a small but steady anchor to the reality she clung to. She looked up at Tamsin and Eleanor, feeling the weight of their watchful presence. The breaking point had come, the moment when despair threatened to swallow her whole, and she had to choose whether to surrender or fight. Her fingers tightened around the book, the pulse within sinking with the steady beat of her defiant heart. "We fight," she said, voice low but resolute. "For the souls, for ourselves, for the chance to reclaim what's been stolen." Tamsin smiled, fierce and wild, and Eleanor nodded with quiet pride. Milo's purr filled the hollow space like a promise. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty and danger. But Liora knew one thing with absolute clarity: she would not let the library's magic consume her without a battle. The silent voices were counting on her, and she was ready to answer their call. As the first light of dawn filtered weakly through the stained glass window, the library seemed to hold its breath, awaiting the storm that was to come. And Liora, fragile but unbroken, was poised on the edge of a fight that could change everything. With a final steadying breath, she rose to her feet, heart pounding with desperate resolve. The breaking point had passed. Now began the true fight for freedom. The shelves melted into tendrils of smoke and shadow, swirling in a dance of indistinct shapes and whispered voices. I was no longer in one place, but everywhere and nowhere, or caught in the heart of the library's dreaming soul, where the bindings lived. The scent of old paper and dust was replaced by an acrid tang, like burning embers, and the temperature dropped, chilling me to the bone. From the shadows, he appeared, the Curator. His tall, gaunt figure was cloaked in robes that seemed woven from the night itself, flickering and fading like smoke. His eyes glowed faintly, embers smoldering in an endless dark, burning with cold authority and the shadow of a man who had lost everything. I felt the weight of his gaze, a mixture of contempt and sorrow, pressing down on me. "You shouldn't have come," he said, his voice echoing with a hollow resonance that seemed to vibrate through the very fabric of the dreamscape. "This place is mine. The souls, the knowledge, they belong to me." I squared my shoulders, feeling the tremor of fear, but pushing it down. "They're not yours to keep. They deserve freedom." "So do I." His laugh was dry, brittle, like cracking parchment. "Freedom. Freedom is a luxury for the living. Here, time is a currency, and you've already spent too much." The ground beneath us rippled, and dark forms emerged, dream guardians, their shapes shifting like smoke and shadow, eyes gleaming with unyielding vigilance. They surged forward, and I spun, dodging their grasping hands and ethereal claws. The battle was not just physical, it was a war of wills. Every moment I fought, spectral chains of memory and fear wrapped around me, threatening to suffocate my resolve. But I was not alone. Glimmers of pale blue shimmered near Mialana's translucent form, her eyes gentle yet filled with a fierce wisdom. "Remember why you fight," she whispered, voice like a breeze through pages. "The bonds are strong, but not unbreakable." Beside her, Tamsin's restless figure darted like a flame, dark curls whipping around her intense eyes. "Don't let him cage you," she urged, her voice sharp, a spark of rebellion. "You have the strength he's forgotten." Drawing on their strength, I reached into the core of the dream realm, gathering fragments of light and hope. I spoke aloud the truths I had learned of sacrifice and freedom, of the price of knowledge and the value of compassion. The Curator faltered, his shadowy form flickering like a dying fire. "You don't understand," he hissed, voice cracking. "I sought to preserve, to save, to keep them safe from oblivion." "You trapped them," I said, voice steady despite the storm inside me. "And yourself?" The library trembled, ancient tomes rattling on shelves as light bent and cracked through the dreamscape. The bindings that had held the souls began to fray, threads snapping like brittle glass. The Curator's eyes widened, a flicker of fear and regret surfacing beneath the embers. In that moment, we were suspended, caught between destruction and salvation, between captivity and release. I felt the cost of every page I had turned, every year I had lost, but also the promise of what might come if we dared to break free. "It's not over," he warned, voice low and urgent. "The library remembers. The magic will fight back." I nodded, heart pounding. "Then we fight back, together or apart. But the souls will be free." As the dreamscape shifted once more, I braced myself for what came next, knowing that the battle for the sleeping library was far from finished, and that the choices I made now would echo through every whispered secret, every dreaming soul, and every fragile hope still left to awaken. But for the first time, I felt the stirrings of possibility crack in the bindings, a spark of light in the endless dark, and that was enough to begin. It shimmered, fractured and unstable, like a cracked mirror catching the flickering light of dying candles. Around us, the shelves groaned under the weight of centuries, their dark wood scarred by the battle we had just waged. The dream realms, once carefully woven and seamless, now bled into one another in jagged tears, exposing raw, aching edges of reality and illusion. I stood facing him, the Curator, his gaunt form swathed in shadowy robes that seemed to absorb the dim light, his eyes glowing faintly like embers, struggling to hold onto warmth. The fight had drained much from both of us, but now, in the uneasy silence, something unspoken hung in the air between us. The tension was not just that of adversaries poised for another clash. It was the fragile thread of something else, something human. "You think this ends with your victory?" His voice was a rasp, a whisper that barely carried. "The library is not simply a cage. It is a sanctuary, a collection, a legacy." I shook my head, the weight of everything pressing down on me. "It's a prison. For you and for every soul trapped inside those books, including you." His eyes flickered, a brief flash of penury, was it regret, breaking through the ember glow. I sought to protect them, to preserve their knowledge, their essence. But I became bound by my own chains, just as they are. The words hit me harder than any spell or sword. Beneath his imposing shadow, I saw the flicker of a man who had lost himself to his own ambition, trapped in the very magic he wielded. Eleanor's ethereal figure drifted toward us, her pale blue robes flowing like water, her voice soft but firm. "The Curator's curse is a mirror of his own heart torn between preservation and obsession. To break the bindings, Forgiveness must be part of the journey. Tamsin, pacing nearby, stopped abruptly, her restless eyes narrowing. Forgiveness, after all this? You expect us to just forgive him? Her voice was sharp, but beneath it lay a trembling uncertainty. I don't know if I can, I admitted, but hatred won't free anyone. Not the souls trapped here, not him, not us. The curator sagged slightly, the embers in his eyes dimming further. I was a scholar once, like you, seeking knowledge. But I was blinded by my own desire for control. I lost myself to the library's magic, and now I am its prisoner. A silence stretched between us, heavy and full of unspoken histories. The fractures in the library's magic pulsed faintly beneath our feet, threatening collapse, but also hinting at change. We all felt it, that tremor of possibility. Maybe this is our chance, Eleanor whispered, to mend what's broken. Not just the magic, but the hearts bound by it. Tamsin's fierce expression softened minutely. Then we start by listening, by understanding. I took a slow breath, the enormity of what lay ahead settling in my chest. The path forward was unclear and dangerous, but for the first time, it felt like there might be a way to heal not just the library, but ourselves. The shards of broken magic around us shimmered like stars scattered across a dark sky, fragile yet brilliant. And in that moment, beneath the fractured light, I glimpsed a fragile hope, one born from forgiveness, sacrifice, and the quiet strength of those willing to rebuild from the ruins. But even as hope flickered, I knew the journey was far from over. The library's magic was changing, and with it, everything we thought we understood. The bonds that held the souls, the curse that imprisoned us, the very fabric of dreams and reality, all was shifting beneath our feet. And somewhere in the shadows, the curator's legacy lingered. A reminder that even in redemption, the price of knowledge and power was never truly paid in full. I turned away from him, my gaze sweeping across the fractured shelves, the fading embers of enchantment glowing faintly in my hands. The weight of sacrifice settled deep within me, but so did a quiet determination. The library was no longer just a prison. It was becoming something newer, fragile sanctuary born from the cracks. And I would be its guardian. As I stepped forward, the shadows seemed to breathe with me. The dream realms whispered, waiting for what would come next. The fractures were not the end. Every surface shimmered with a tenuous golden light, as if the very stones themselves held their breath in anticipation. Liora stood before the ancient altar, clutching the worn pages of a grimoire she'd found hidden deep within the forgotten stacks. The ritual to sever the curse binding the dreaming souls was etched across these fragile leaves, words humming with power both terrible and beautiful. Her hands trembled as she began the incantation, voice low but steady. The air thickened with magic. The scent of old parchment and something like ozone filled her senses. Around her, the library seemed to pulse, breathing in unison with her own heartbeat. Chains of shimmering light wrapped the countless souls trapped within the books, their whispers rising to a crescendo, a chorus of yearning and hope. With each phrase spoken, the chains began to loosen, glowing threads unraveling in bursts of radiant energy. The dreaming souls stirred, their forms shifting from vague shadows to clearer shapes, faces alight with the promise of freedom. Liora's breath caught in her throat. She felt a surge of triumph mingled with profound sorrow. Suddenly, a presence darkened the periphery of the chamber. The curator emerged from the shadows, his gaunt figure cloaked in tattered robes, eyes glowing faintly like embers, his mouth twisted into a bitter smile. "You believe you can undo what I have wrought," he hissed, voice echoing with the weight of centuries. Liora met his gaze unflinchingly. The cost of your obsession is too high. No soul deserves to be a prisoner. Not here, not ever. He lunged forward, a swirl of shadows and malice, but the light from the ritual flared, pushing him back. His form flickered, the embers in his eyes dimming as the curse unraveled thread by thread. You will regret this, he whispered, fading like smoke caught in a sudden breeze. As the last bindings shattered, a wave of release swept through the library. Souls once trapped in endless slumber awoke, their voices rising in a symphony of gratitude and grief. Tamsin appeared beside Liora, her eyes shining with tears and fierce relief. She pulled Liora into a tight embrace, their shared pain and hope intertwining in that fragile moment. "We're free," Tamsin breathed, voice trembling. "But what of you?" Leora's heart ached. She could feel the years stolen from her slipping away, a heavy toll exacted by the magic of the library. She staggered, collapsing onto the cold stone floor. Milo, her constant companion, padded silently to her side, curling protectively against her pale cheek. The library itself seemed to sigh, the oppressive weight lifting, replaced by a gentle warmth. The knowledge and magic that had once imprisoned now promised sanctuary. Yet in that newfound freedom, Liora understood the undeniable truth. Sacrifice was the price of hope. She closed her eyes, the quiet flicker of candlelight casting dancing shadows on the ancient walls, and whispered a vow to guard this place not as a jailer, but as a protector. The library had awoken, and so had she, forever changed but resolute. Outside, the world waited, but inside the sleeping library, a new dawn had begun, a delicate balance between sacrifice and freedom, knowledge and compassion, dreams and reality, and Liora was ready to face whatever came next.